They only know what people are concerned trolling about, right? Like, and what we need to do is just prove it to them.
We saw something and then we were like, well, why do we have to do it like that? Why don't we do it like this? Like, why don't we run our own infrastructure? Why don't we build a data center?
The Clarity Act is basically saying that you cannot passively earn yield with a stablecoin. But what we're doing with the origin dollar and what we will be doing in the future will be actively earning yield by lending to different money markets that are all on the blockchain.
Sometimes the bear markets, I feel, have to happen. It thins out the crowd a little bit, maybe the people that are not really in it for the right reasons. And it helps us build our connections with the people that are there and reevaluate what was working and what wasn't, so that way we can adjust moving forward.
Clarity Act, Genius Act, these are all kind of cementing in for our industry and all the, the outlier components of it. But capital formation of a tokenized real world asset, that pathway is there.
If you want to know where the future of Web3 is actually being built, it's happening right behind me. We're here at Rare Evo in Las Vegas, surrounded by the teams building the next generation of blockchain technology. From the XRP Ledger to Cardano, World Mobile, Brave, OpenSea, Mangrove, and a dozen more. Over the next few minutes, I'm taking you inside the conversations, the products, and the people shaping what's coming next. So let's get into it.
The big gorilla in the room is that there's an election coming up. And the crypto political fundraising arm is the strongest out of any industry in the entire country. And they're ready to send a message, and they're sitting on the sidelines right now to see how this bill shakes out. So while there's only 8 days left, I have adjusted my expectations of I do think this bill will get done. I think what progress and success looks like over the next 8 days is, can we start to see some votes? There are several votes that need to happen before this can finally pass the Senate. Can we start to see some of the procedural votes that will put the senators on the record, both Republicans and Democrats, to start to understand where we are? Then they take a month off, which is not great. They come back for 3 weeks in September, which is essentially 3 weeks for the rest of the year because they're gone all of October and then it's the election. So can we see enough progress where when they come back in September, we understand where the Democrats are, Republicans are. If you get 65 votes on a cloture vote, let's say, or a motion to proceed before they break for August recess, that shows me we have the votes to pass this thing. And all you have to do then is tee it up. First week back in September, you can pass this and the House passes it to the president's desk. So I've adjusted my expectations that, yes, we need to see progress by next week. If we don't see any votes by next week, I think there's almost 0% chance this bill gets done. But if we start to see some of those procedural votes, I think there's still a very good chance that this is signed into law in September.
Do you think that within your wallets, you'll soon see tokenized stocks?
Yeah, I mean, I think like all these new fintech types of products that are coming out, like Brave should be a place where you can access all of that. And we're like an aggregator for the web, for search. Finance should be part of that, right? Like, it's just got to be easy. It's got to feel more like people don't realize it's like Web2 users are used to going into banking and all these centralized apps where it's a kind of a older school thing, but people know how to access that stuff. We just need to bring these new things to people in a way that they understand, kind of meet them where they are.
What do you think are some new things that would bring even more adoption and utility in this ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that like we're doing stuff with agentic payments at the browser. So if we can kind of utilize that in ways that make a lot of the friction go away for users, make it easier for them to automate those things without them having to learn all of it. Like, but really like it's mainly about just kind of like meeting them where they're at with the language too, because like people don't necessarily understand the complexity, right? So I think there's a lot of innovation on these things. Some of this stuff needs to prove itself out a little bit, but really like there's so much low-hanging fruit on just usability. Like people don't understand a lot of this stuff. When you start to talk to them, even what they think about crypto, it's like they only know what people are concerned trolling about, right? Like what we need to do is just prove it to them, right? Like they just need to be able to feel the win. Like nobody's doing that. Yeah.
Speaking of wins, what's a big win for Brave that you think the global audience here would love to hear about?
Yeah, I mean, I think like right now there's a lot of attention coming on to privacy. When we started Brave back in 2016, like it was like people were questioning whether people even cared about it, right? Like we have 120 million monthly active users. Like those are numbers you can't argue against, like, okay, backing up the thesis, backing up the movement. So like we've done that by making products that are easy for people to use. And so like I think that this is doing a lot to help with the privacy. You're selling all this deflocking and all these things where people are kind of becoming aware of like, oh wow, like people can tie this information to my other information, like, and they want to limit that footprint. The wins are just like continuing to build product that people use and like listening to those users and like building what they want and meeting them where they're at.
What is XRP Ledger Foundation? How did you make your way there?
Sure. Yeah, the XRP Ledger Foundation is a nonprofit based out of France, and our job is to facilitate the future of the XRP Ledger, make sure it's sustainable, make sure it's security, transparent, safe, and so that encompasses a lot of different things. And basically how we operate is through budgets, and so we have budgets for different sort of initiatives that we want to see. So one of them is monitoring. We want to set up a better monitoring system so that if an event occurs, like the ledger halts, we have logs from all of the different validators, and we can see exactly what's happening. We had this before. We're just sort of doing a better version now, and so that's like one of our milestones. That's one of our vendors, and so that's a lot of what my job is from a technological standpoint. Where is the ledger today? Where do we want it to be, and how can we achieve that?
What is XRP Ledger, or what is XRP, the XRP Ledger, to you?
To me, it's a decentralized platform that allows you to really build almost whatever you want, right? We do lack smart contracts, so we don't have that total ability. But for someone like me who looked at the ledger and said, well, I can build whatever I want, right? So not just from a client perspective of what's currently on the XRP ledger, but I went in and built my own amendments to facilitate the things that I actually wanted, which I think is really cool. It's open, it's permissionless. Anyone can do exactly what I did, where you wanted a specific feature, and then you can go and you can build it, and you can have all the validators vote on it. And so I think it creates its own ecosystem, its own economy, and I guess that's what I think about it.
And now, what do you think is next for the ledger?
Sure. So I think agentic payments are really popular. We're adding token pay we're adding pay channels for IOU tokens and MPTs. And I think that'll actually open up a couple more doors, because you have the ability to sort of make like authorizations on a credit card in some ways and settle other things with payments now with IOUs. And that actually is a big driver for the AI agentic payments, is the token payment channels. We also have the lending protocol, which is, I think it's currently on the network and can be voted in. That I think drives yield. And I think that's a big thing that the XRP Ledger has sort of been lacking. Inside of that, underneath it, is what's called the single asset vault. And that may be my favorite. It's like a fund, like we see in TradeFi, like a mutual fund, but it allows users to deposit money in and create a pool of investment. And then if we build on top of that something that can generate yield, the yield goes back into the pool, and then when you want to withdraw, you withdraw your money. And I think that is super in line with what TradeFi has. And so I like that we're sort of headed in that direction of writing the TradeFi primitives into the protocol rather than just writing smart contracts.
What do you see as like some early fixes that you can already sink your hooks into?
Right. Yeah, so to start, the XRPLF has to start taking over assets, right? So we're now going to ship out the binary. We will distribute the Ripple D binary, or the XRPL D binary now. We're also gonna host the artifacts, lots of infrastructure. And so I think something early on that we noticed is just that there's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of things that the XRPLF should be doing. And one thing that I've been doing that I kind of like what I'm doing is every time like we find something that maybe the XRPLF should be doing, we look at like, why are we doing it, right? And so there's a couple of different examples in there where we like saw something and then we were like, well, why do we have to do it like that? Why don't we do it like this? Like, why don't we run our own infrastructure? Why don't we build a data center?
At the end of the day, every new chain needs like a couple of like the same thing, and they're all going to have these. They're all going to need these if they want to survive. They all need to have a stablecoin. If they don't have that, then what are you going to trade against at the end of the day? They all need to have a DEX, and it needs to be a DEX that probably has a token with it, because otherwise, you know, why bother using the DEX if you're not going to get some kind of emission? I think they all need to have some sort of money market to be able to use your tokens as collateral. And without that, then it's just not as exciting, I think. Yeah. So, and then once you have a money market, then you can start running some really interesting strategies too, with like leverage looping and carry trades, and I mean, you name it. You can bring a lot of the TradFi strategies over once you have a money market set up. Yeah. But I do think that we're going to see more and more banks issue stablecoins, but people are going to want to earn some yield on those stablecoins, because otherwise you're just holding dollars that are not doing anything. If anything, you're losing money to inflation. Yeah. So I think we're going to see some interest coming from users that want to put their tokens to work.
Yeah.
And we think that we're in a position to do that by basically taking the same playbook behind the origin dollar and repeating it just with other stablecoins.
Do you think the Clarity Act is going to have any impact on your business model? Is it setting the stage or the runway for your trajectory?
Absolutely. Because the Clarity Act is basically saying that you cannot passively earn yield with a stablecoin. But what we're doing with the origin dollar and what we will be doing in the future will be actively earning yield by lending to different money markets that are all on the blockchain. So we think we'll actually be very compliant with the Clarity Act if that eventually ends up passing.
Here's another question for you, Shelly. Being that you're so engaged with the community, you've got a great head on your shoulders. We're in the middle of bear markets, so sentiment's down. A lot of people are at a loss. How do you overcome these moments mentally?
Well, I'm actually going to give a shout out to one of the community members, Saul. He's always saying addition through subtraction. Sometimes the bear markets, I feel, have to happen. It thins out the crowd a little bit, maybe the people that are not really in it for the right reasons. And it helps us build our connections with the people that are there and reevaluate what was working and what wasn't, so that way we can adjust moving forward.
Yeah. What do you think's going on at X? What do you think the future of X looks like?
Oh, I think an everything app, a super app. I think Elon Musk has been quite clear about that from the beginning.
Yes! This is what victory feels like. Yeah!
I think if you've ever had an experience with WeChat, which is the Chinese version of Twitter, of WhatsApp, it's kind of everything piled into one. You know, you can trade there, you can send money there, you can, message people, you can tweet, their own version of tweeting. It really is a super app, but I think Elon Musk wants to be the first one to bring it to the United States. And you've already seen a rollout this year of the stock tickers, right? When you tweet and you do the cash tag, you now get to see how the stock is actually trading in real time when you tweet about it. I think that's a very cool update. So
the money sign XRP.
Yeah. I mean, does he do it for crypto as well? Then there you go. Exactly. So you get that real time information as well, which is very cool.
We believe is best fit for a platform like ours is the platform to trade everything on chain. And so that includes everything from perps to RWAs to tokens. And so we've now got about 27 different blockchains on the platform today integrated, not just ETH or EVM. We've got things like Solana tokens available as well. And so you can actually seamlessly trade, swap, buy, sell, basically anything from those 27 chains across tokens, RWAs, NFTs, etc. And so, yeah, we've kind of we've progressed. We believe we're the best place to kind of trade everything. And I think the things that we're working on right now today are just making that product as good as it can be, both on web, and then we're also moving into mobile. And so our new mobile app is coming out. We're giving out early access codes here. And so the idea there is just to be able to do this all seamlessly through your phone.
And to the name OpenSea, it actually rhymes a lot better now with the broad product offering that you guys are providing. It's just an OpenSea of digital products, essentially, from real world assets like you mentioned and beyond. What do you think is going to be the most compelling real world asset to hit the platform, or that has hit the platform?
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple of them. Look, tokenized stocks on Robinhood chain have been something that a lot of people have talked about. So you can now kind of do that 24/7 on Robinhood chain. We support that, so you can actually do that. Secondarily, I think the one that we've seen the most interest in over the last couple of years is tokenized trading cards. We've seen a lot of people obviously get into sports cards, memorabilia, Pokemon, things like that. And what this does is it actually it makes the market more efficient for things like eBay. If you think about like the traditional buyer and seller on eBay, you're going in, you have your graded Pokemon card, let's say. You now have to then figure out what that price is, list it on eBay, describe it, give it all the information, spend 15 to 30 minutes taking photos, making sure the listing looks right, list it, wait 7 days for someone to buy it. Then you have to package that up, ship it somewhere, pay the fees, etc., just to get it to someone's door. In this case now, you can go to OpenSea, you can buy from a number of different platforms. There's things like Courtyard, Dilly, Beezy, Collector Crypt, Fidgetals. There's a few different platforms out there that you can now today basically buy these cards on OpenSea and just hit the redeem button and they ship straight to your door. Oh, wow. And you don't have to redeem them though. And so the beauty of this is like there are tons of collectors out there that don't need they don't have the extra closet space. They don't want to store the cards. They just want to have them. And so this allows you to basically buy the item, the trading card, the Pokemon card, the sports card, the Mike Trout rookie or the Shohei Ohtani rookie, without actually having to take possession of that card physically or deal with the pain and the headache of the 30 to 45 minutes, an hour that you'd spend just listing that or buying that card on eBay.
Where would then the custody of those assets be? Do you require some type of third-party auditor, or is it just trust by the person who uploaded the assets?
So the platforms that are selling these all have their own unique vaults. They're insured typically, like I think Courtyard's known for being insured by Brinks. Collector Crypt has their own vaults. And so a lot of these platforms already have vaulting companies or vaults themselves that they own. And so all those items are stored within their vaults. And we've kind of vetted out or verified the few that are on the platform today. And so we leverage those ones, obviously. We don't really support others. And so, yeah, that's how people are getting those.
You know, I'm not really into Pokemon cards,
Yeah.
but do you see a future where maybe exotic cars could be available on OpenSea?
Cars, houses, like anything of the sort.
I wouldn't be shocked that if we know the fate of this bill over the next 6 weeks, that you start to see guidance and proposed rules coming out from the CFTC and the SEC right away. They have things drafted, they have things shelved. The problem with that, while a business can continue to grow and feel comfortable with regulatory guidance and rulemaking in the United States, it is not durable. It is up to the whims of the administration. And the scary thing about regulation and the posture shift from Paul Atkins and Mike Selig have been incredible, and we appreciate it that they've embraced digital assets. They want to see that innovation here. Is that the next SEC chair in a AOC administration, or insert your Democrat that doesn't love crypto, can undo everything very, very quickly with the sign of a pen. If you're building in this business and you're going to invest millions, billions, potentially trillions of dollars from different industries, whether you're a traditional financial institution, you're an offshore exchange that wants to come to the US, or you're a DeFi protocol trying to build here in the US, how can you feel comfortable investing all of that money when you don't know what the regulatory guidance or the rules of the road are going to be in 2 years?
Absent of the Clarity Act, many people are concerned that, hey, is it right for businesses to make decisions based on what the Securities and Exchange Commission or CFTC have doubted is legal today? Are you concerned potentially under a new presidential regime that if things were not codified by the Clarity Act, could those laws or any pathways be changed? Are you concerned about that?
That's a good question. And, one thing I want to make clear is that the Clarity Act is going to benefit the industry as a whole. Okay, it's gonna put a lot of things out on the sidelines and just give full clarity. We know which regulatory body is in charge of what. It also colors in a lot of those gray areas. So, for example, some tokens, are they security tokens? Are they not? What if they're not? What's going to happen, right? So, there is room for clarity to be made. I mean, very appropriate name. And then also institutions also need more clarity too, because if they want to, fund these projects, they want to know where regulatory body is going to be, who's in charge. But I would say that the pathway we're choosing, Reg A Plus has been around for over a decade, right? And so if you sit and you build something within the existing framework, something that's already existed, and to put the cherry on the top, 4 weeks ago, if you look on Reuters, search T7X SEC Reg A Plus, we actually have an article on Reuters because we got this SEC stamp of approval. They have qualified one of our Reg A's that we administered. And if you look at the Reg A offering, inside of it, you'll see everything. Blockchain technology is used. We're tokenizing how, who's the transfer agent, what blockchain we're using. It's all codified in the public domain. So my challenge, and this is what I also echoed on stage, is, hey, it's being done. It's being done with the existing pathways. Yes, Clarity, Clarity Act, Genius Act, these are all kind of cementing in for our industry and all the, the outlier components of it. But capital formation of a tokenized real world asset, that pathway is there.
I believe that more than half the planet, our video game players today, they can earn a living there in 10 years.
And I think this is a great segue into the power and utility of blockchain and the convergence with video games, especially with microtransactions and things like that. When you mentioned the 600 million users, the in-game transactions, that
600 million users that's the monthly ones that visit the arcades that trade prize tickets for prizes that suck currently.
So what's the addressable market that you're trying to reach then?
3.8 billion video game players, we want them all in our system.
And so again, the 3.8 billion users using the Convergence system, potentially, which you're facilitating or supporting the back-end microtransaction payments, the in-game NFT asset transfers, things of that nature. There's a lot of opportunity within the video game ecosystem and the payment processing. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, video games is probably the fastest growing and one of the largest sectors in the market, period. It's poised to be something like 686 billion by 2030. But again, the back end, that's just our phase one. What we're really making the most strides on today is our phase three.
What does phase three look like?
The largest esports event ever conceived.
You mentioned gamification a couple times. What does that mean for those in the audience and the impact that it has in this sector, community, space, and finance?
Right. So instead of just buying an asset and holding it, when you're actually able to use that asset or maybe even stake your NFT and create yield, and then maybe that system rotates back into itself. That's kind of like a way of gamification. And then if you add layers on top of that with community and events and things you can do, maybe we do something like, hey, there's a scavenger hunt and you can get this, and now you take that, whatever you found, you go stake that, and now you're in a system that rotates unto itself where you can actually create more yield as well. And then you can also, again, apply events into that and make a fun experience for everyone involved. Then thus that creates more activity, and that activity then drives attention, and attention drives more people coming on chain, which drives more activity, and then we get more builders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and keeps on rolling through.
I want to dive in a little bit to the BRCA, the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, because it's very important part of the Clarity Act. It's a small section, but there's been a lot of to-do made over it, partly because it is so important to the crypto industry, to folks here in this room who are builders, developers. It will give them regulatory certainty to be able to build here in the US without fear of that criminal liability. Rick, when you're talking to clients, as you do on a daily basis, I mean, is this something that they are, actively watching? Is it, I feel like I've had conversations with folks before where they said, why should I care about what Washington does? I've been building in this space for years. I've never had to really care about what they've done before. And for some reason, not for some reason, I know why, but this one is the one to watch. And what are you hearing from clients on BRCA?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's highly consequential, right? And I think just so everybody kind of is aware, kind of in a nutshell, BRCA is a provision that basically says, look, if you are running a validator or validating a transaction on chain, and you don't custody somebody's funds, you're not going to be considered a money transmitter under federal law. And that can be very consequential if we don't have some of those protections in place, because then, look, if you're sitting there and you run a validator on a particular blockchain, you could be considered a money transmitter, and which could open you up to civil and possible criminal liability. And so it's really important that I think a lot of people really particularly pay attention to this provision and the fight that's kind of going on behind the scenes with it that maybe Cody can kind of attest to as well, is super important. So I would just say, look, if you are somebody who's building in this space and this can apply to you, really research it and reach out to your local lawmakers, your federal lawmakers rather, and voice your concerns as well.
For those that aren't here in the room right now, you're displaying a validator, a magnificent piece of hardware that looks like it took 100 data scientists to put together. What is this that you're showcasing to the world here at Rare Evo?
So one of the things we like to do in Lost Art is combine art and technology. In this instance, we brought our validator to provide a hands learning experience for individuals to come and ask questions, what it is, why is it that we're running it, and it gives us an opportunity to sort of explain the saying the best incentive is no incentive, where we're running infrastructure because we rely on the network performance and uptime for our products and services to be able to provide those to our customers.
Cody, Carbone, and Eleanor Terrett yesterday speaking on stage, they were talking a lot about what's going on with the Clarity Act and certain elements within the Clarity Act. There's concerns about people that are, or builders, developers that are operating this hardware like nodes and validators. Some of them are being considered, they should be operating or have licensing like money transmitter licensings. Even though you guys aren't even custodying assets, it's just the data you're processing. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's fair?
It definitely isn't, because this technology provides quite a bit of suite of tools and features that people can utilize. It's not everyone's going to be running a submission node to send tokens. Some people might be doing it for NFTs, NFTs, maybe they're testing. So it seems like it's very unfair, doing an overall blanket over everything. I think it'll definitely dampen innovation in the market for sure.
I have to ask this question because you guys are the ones providing the seed phrase and the wallet.
Yeah.
What would happen if there's any exposure or illicit behavior from one of your employees? This isn't a perfect world, unfortunately. Is there any exposure from that?
That is a fair question to ask. I have to say, even if there is one balapple in the team or in the company, it won't be safe. But our manufacturing process makes sure that no one can have the full access or information to the private key components. So Ballet as a company has been around for 7 years by this year. So we have all the Ballet wallet products in the worldwide has secured over $1 billion in crypto assets now. So we haven't never received any complaints about being hacked or being stolen or their assets in risk. So they're totally safe, and our founder Bobby Lee has been in this area for over 10 years. He himself created the whole process for it, and so yeah, it's a trusted product since 2019.
Bobby, I got to take advantage of this yes. opportunity. You guys sponsored XRP Las Vegas this year.
That's right.
Would you like to give an update for those in the audience that are passionate about Ballet?
So obviously, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. That's why I started Ballet. The one thing that's great about Ballet is our cold storage wallet card actually holds multiple currencies all at the same time. And XRP is one of the most popular as well. So we have a very healthy community from XRP who uses Ballet as a cold wallet solution.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
It's almost like you've created, you enhanced the paper wallet approach.
Yes, that's right. Basically what Ballet is, we've turned digital cryptocurrency into a tangible physical object. So whether it's a coin, we make those as well, XRP coins, Ballet cards, size of a credit card. The idea is now you can store digital cryptocurrency, a virtual asset, onto something physical, and the physical item is the sole representation of your digital assets. So as long as you don't lose it, then you won't get hacked and you can't lose your crypto.
Yeah.
In fact, I recently heard a real story. A friend of mine lost a lot of Bitcoin because his Gmail account got hacked. So his Gmail account got hacked through a phishing link, but what he didn't realize was years ago, he wrote the backup seed recovery phrase into a Google Docs on his Gmail account. And the hackers got into that doc, and then they essentially transfer out all his Bitcoins. And so even though the seed recovery was probably for a hardware wallet, a physical device, that was air gapped and all that stuff, but in the end, because of that seed recovery phrase, he got hacked. Whereas Ballet, this would never happen.
No. Earlier this year, I saw you at the Bitcoin conference, XRP Las Vegas. You've been in the XDC community as well. You've been all over the place. What have you learned throughout your engagements in the various chains, ecosystems, and communities of practice?
Yeah, I've learned that this technology is not going anywhere. Yeah, we're early. I kind of feel like we're at a part where there's a little bit of growing pains. But when it comes to a new financial system, when it comes to disruptive technology. Of course, there's going to be these growing pains, but with everything we're seeing when it comes to regulations and these tech upgrades that are coming natively integrated into the ledger, I feel like we're in a really good spot. I've been able to go to a lot of these conferences and see what's going on, but there's just something about the XRPL that's just special.
So UBRI is the University Blockchain Research Initiative at Ripple, and Swell is Ripple's biggest conference that's taking place in October in New York City. And this is the pre-Swell hackathon that UBRI is hosting before the conference starts.
For those in the audience that might like to follow you or the initiatives at UBRI, where's a great place for those in the audience to learn and engage and participate?
So I think the UBRI website is a great place to start, and then from there, we have all our initiatives linked, and you can apply to any of our open applications.
And for those builders that are tuning in today, be sure to scan this QR code right here if you're interested in participating in the upcoming hackathon around Ripple Swell. It's going to be one for the record books. And that's a wrap. Rare Evo 2026 was a hit. It was super productive, but as you can see, the teams are breaking down the booths right now. But one thing you cannot overlook is the XRP Ledger is still standing tall. Love to see it. Thanks for tuning in. Love you mucho.